And then there were 8. With only a quarter of the NFL's teams left in the race to Super Bowl 59, who will help their teams advance this weekend? Check out which players should stand out in each of the 4 divisional round matchups. Patrick Mahomes is not a player you want to face in the postseason. Since becoming the Chiefs' starting QB in 2018, Mahomes has made the playoffs every year and has yet to lose before the AFC Championship game. And Mahomes has already shown he has answers for whatever the Texans might throw at him. Houston has generated a league-high 38.9% pressure rate this season, but Mahomes is surgical in the quick passing game. In a Week 16 win against the Texans, Mahomes completed 17 of 19 quick passes, under 2.5 seconds, for 155 yards and 1 TD. That 83.6% completion percentage on such passes was the highest in the NFL this season, per Next Gen Stats. Houston also opted to play man coverage on a season-high 48.9% of dropbacks against Kansas City. Mahomes responded by throwing for 151 passing yards against man coverage, his most in a game this season. And if DeMeco Ryans' defense does flush Mahomes out of the pocket, good luck. In the last 6 postseasons, Mahomes has thrown for 14 TDs on passes outside the pocket, 9 more than any other QB, while scrambling for 517 yards, 32 first downs and 4 TDs. Mahomes is inevitable, and with an extra week off to study Houston's defensive tendencies, he should ink a positive next chapter in his legendary playoff story. You've heard of Mr. October in baseball? Reggie Jackson, for the MLB illiterate. Well, Patrick Mahomes is Mr. January. In his career, Mahomes has averaged 24.3 fantasy points per game this month, more than any other player ever with at least 7 career January contests. Mahomes also improved over the second half of this season, averaging 20.2 ppg since Week 9, and tagged the Texans for 23.7 points a month ago. He might not have the floor or the ceiling of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but Mr. January comes at a significant DFS discount in comparison, making him valuable for lineups focusing elsewhere. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not talked about enough, but he should be after this weekend. St. Brown's strengths align well with Washington's weaknesses on defense. The Commanders, who generated pressure on only 26.1% of Baker Mayfield's dropbacks in the wildcard round, could plan to bring additional heat against Jared Goff in Detroit. However, Washington has allowed the highest explosive pass rate, 26.1%, when blitzing this season, per Next Gen Stats. What's more, St. Brown is an exceptional blitz beater. The Lions' WR is tied for the league lead with 27 first down conversions against the blitz this season and sits above his NFL peers with 88 such first downs since 2022. Traditionally a slot threat, St. Brown has aligned out wide on over half his snaps this season, 51.2%, for the first time in his career. And he has been just as lethal. St. Brown's 89.3% catch rate from a wide alignment is the highest by an WR, with at least 25 such targets in a season since at least 2016. St. Brown should feast no matter where he aligns or who defends him. Commanders' CB Marshawn Lattimore has allowed 10 receptions for 141 yards and 2 TDs against WR1s over his past 2 games, while his teammate Benjamin Street just has allowed a team-high 686 yards as the nearest defender in coverage this season. Prepare for the sun god to shine bright on Saturday night. The Commanders' largely improved defense has a bit of a flaw in its armor when it comes to efficiency against the slot. Washington has allowed the 4th highest passer rating, EPA per dropback and success rate on targets to the slot this year and has allowed 12 touchdowns on those targets, tied for 3rd most, despite tying for 6th fewest slot targets faced. Amon-Ra St. Brown spends about 34% of his snaps in the slot, highest on the team, and had 5 receiving scores from that alignment in 2024. Only Brian Thomas Jr. had more among wideouts. St. Brown's price is high, but so are his floor and his ceiling in a sneaky good matchup. A.J. Brown might not have had the 2025 playoff debut he expected, but a bounce-back opportunity is ripe for the picking this weekend. Brown's Eagles draw a familiar foe in a Rams team that is playing inspired football for its city. In a Week 12 battle in Los Angeles, Brown snagged 6 of 7 targets for 109 yards and a TD. 4 of those 6 receptions, for 86 yards, came against CB Darius Williams, who lined up against Brown on 78.3% of the WR's routes, per Next Gen Stats. Brown excels against man coverage, generating the 2nd most receiving yards, 505, and most yards per route, 4.2, against it this season. However, the Rams have trended toward a zone-heavy scheme, deploying zone coverage on a season-long average of 73.6% snaps per game. The good news for Brown is he has already proven he can beat Los Angeles' zone, as he went a perfect 3-3 on targets against zone in Week 12. Brown will certainly have his work cut out for him if he hopes to replicate that performance. A.J. Brown is coming off an absolute dud on wildcard weekend, 1 catch for 10 yards on 3 targets, where his most memorable moment involved a book on the sideline and not his play on the field. But we've seen squeaky wheel games from AJB already this season, like his back-to-back 20 burgers following the alleged beef with Jalen Hurts last month. Brown also torched the Rams back in Week 12, with 109 yards and a touchdown on a 37% target share, in what remains the last loss by LA's starters. Brown should bounce back in the divisional round and play a crucial part in Philly's chances at winning. No QB matchup is juicier than this Sunday's nightcap, a battle between MVP candidates Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And the data shows Jackson will live up to the hype. Jackson threw for 2,989 yards and boasts a 23-3 TD to int ratio against zone coverage this season, while leading the league in passer rating, 119.1, and yards per attempt, 9.5 per next-gen stats. His 119.1 passer rating against zone coverage is the highest by any QB since 2018. Meanwhile, the Bills use zone coverage at the NFL's 8th highest rate, surrendering 17 passing TDs and an average passer rating of 93.8 to opposing QBs. Jackson posted 210 scrimmage yards and 3 TDs in a 25-point Week 4 win over Buffalo. On that night, none of Jackson's 18 pass attempts came via tight window throws, less than 1 yard of separation. Instead, Baltimore's speedy WRs ran free, and Jackson found them on 12 of 13 passes when they were open, 3+ yards of separation. In a potential shootout, Jackson will likely look to push the ball deep, a muscle the Ravens QB has flexed throughout the season. Jackson's 27 TD passes and 57.8% completion rate on downfield passes, 10+ air yards, are both the NFL's highest metrics. Even if Zay Flowers is a no-go on Sunday, Jackson has proven he can spread the wealth. In Week 4, none of Jackson's 4 downfield completions went to Flowers. If you're not interested in the discount route at QB, you may as well go with fantasy's top scorer in Lamar Jackson. The Ravens QB has averaged a whopping 25.2 fantasy points per game, including his 23 points in the wildcard round, and hasn't fallen short of 20 points in any of his last 7 games. Incredibly, Jackson has more games this year with 30+ fantasy points, 4, than he does games with fewer than 23. The MVP duel with Josh Allen and the Bills is billed as an extremely close one with a ton of projected points, and if does indeed turn into a shootout, you can expect the Ravens QB to be leading the charge.